Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Sanders Kitchen. I'm Mike. Let me ask you a question. How would you like to be able to bake some homemade Sicilian-style fig cookies? Stick around, and I'm going to show you all the techniques of making Sicilian fig cookies. So let's go ahead and show you guys what all is in the ingredients for the filling of the fig cookies. I downloaded the recipe that Frank wrote, and remember, it's his mother-in-law's recipe. Now, and I said that I was going to tweak it just a little bit, and I'm going to tell you why. Some figs have the seeds or the pits in them, and you need to remove them, unless you buy them pitted. I happen to have bought pitted dates, and I'm going to have to remove them. They were 14 ounces total. You know, by the time you take the pits out, you might have 12 ounces. I'm not gonna throw or put the other ones back in the pantry. I'm just gonna go ahead and use them all. Okay. Instead of 8 ounces, I'll probably use 12 or 13 ounces, whatever. Okay. The next thing that I'm going to do that's a little bit different is I'm going to add 2 ounces of anise. This is anise extract, A-N-I-S-E. If you've never heard of it, let me tell you, it makes a huge difference in how the filling tastes, because we made it and then we added the anise and mixed it up again, and it was a huge difference, and we like it, okay? If you don't like the anise flavor, then please don't use it, okay? However, the only other change, and it's not really an ingredient change, it's when you're grinding, this stuff is so sticky. The raisins and the dates and the figs and all that, it's just so sticky that it's hard to get everything through the grinder. So I'm going to spray a little oil before I start, and that's all I'm going to do. That's all the changes I'm going to make, and everything else is the same. I don't think that if you change the recipe, tweak it a little bit more, a couple of ounces here or there, it's going to make that big of a difference. But anyway, let's go ahead and just show you all of what's in the recipe. So we're going to start off with dates, and then we have raisins. I use the golden raisins and the traditional style raisins. And then we have, now Frank, his mother-in-law calls out for walnuts and pecans. I didn't have any walnuts. In fact, I did, but they were too old. So we're just using pecans. Now we have the dried mission figs. Now, the Italian style figs come in a little round container. They're really dry, and according to my mother, who's been making these things for many, many years, she's 96 years old and she's not making them anymore, but she likes to use those Italian figs, but they are really hard and they're dry, and she likes to soak them. Well, you know what? I find that these figs are very soft. They are dried, but they're soft, so we decided that we were going to use these figs this time. All right, and now you're going to need to weigh out 1.5 pounds of brown sugar, and let's go ahead and skirt right on over here to ground cinnamon, ground clove. All of the amounts will be in the description again. We have ground nutmeg, and we have 1 whole jigger, I think that's a jigger, of whiskey. It's just some bourbon. That's what the recipe calls out for. And the only other thing I would like to recommend that you do is that you use a scale. Get yourself a nice little digital scale. They don't cost that much money. And when I say that, I'm talking maybe $10, $12, $15 at the most. We bought this one. It's Taylor. They don't sponsor me. I'm just telling you, we've had this one for a long time, and it works great. Absolutely works great. So get yourself a little digital scale. Now, the only other thing that we will be using is a motorized grinder, okay? And that's because, you know, you can sit there and grind all this stuff by hand, but it takes forever. And so we've had this for a while, and it calls out for using the fine disc, you know, the smallest holes. So that's the one we're going to use. And so let's go ahead and get started. There's a couple of things we need to do before we can get to grinding. So let me go ahead and show you what that is. I found some figs that had the stems on them, so I'm taking the rest of the stems off. All you do is just, you know, pop them off. You can use a pair of scissors if you like. Throw the stems away, and I'm done with that. The dates have these pits in them, so you squeeze it until the pit just comes out like that. Really simple, really simple. Just squeeze the pit out. There it is right there. Little bitty pit like that big. And so now I have this big container right here, because the next thing I'm going to do is pour all of the ingredients into one container. The figs, the dates. Yep. Just making sure I took the pit out of that rascal. Okay, here's all the raisins. Get them all in there. And we'll put the pecans in next. I have them all weighed out. Everything's weighed out, okay? At this point, I think I'll go ahead and throw in the spices. Nutmeg, clove, cinnamon. Brown sugar. Next. See, all of this needs to get mixed together. And so I just decided that I wanted to try to mix it like this with a big spoon. I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but I wanted to kind of get them mixed. And the reason why is because I want to have them all mixed when they go into the grinder, okay? So just a little bit of mixing. It's pretty sticky stuff. And then 2 ounces of anise, the whole bottle. Wow. And then the bourbon. Boy, you ought to smell this. It's smelling some good. And I need a knife because we need to cut a lemon in half. And it says the juice of the recipe calls out for the juice of a half a lemon. Okay, and I think that was the juice of a half a lemon right there. And now the recipe calls out for 1 whole orange, peel and all. So what I'm going to do is just cut the very top off and the bottom just to get that little hard stem off. And now this ought to go in the grinder pretty easy like that. So so I'm not even going to squeeze it in here. I could, but I don't need to. Okay, so everything is ready for the grinder. Okay, as I said, this is not rocket science. This part of the video is just grinding everything up. But what I'm going to do is give it a little squirt of oil like that, because I want everything to go through easy. So I'm going to turn it on and I'm going to play some music for you, so you don't have to hear all this grinding. Wow, look how beautiful this is. So I'm going to mix it a little bit. It's very sticky, but there's some orange juice and the peel that got grinded up, and I just want to mix it up a little bit. Man, this looks so good. It's amazing. Look how beautiful that is. That is your fig filling for your Italian fig cookies. Oh, it's amazing. It's really, really good. What a combination. So that really concludes step one of Italian fig cookies. The next two steps that are coming behind this will be making the cookie dough, how to weigh it out, how to roll it out, how to put the fig preserves, the fig filling, and make the cookies and bake them, and then of course baking them and coating them, and that's going to be like step three. So we're going to have 3 steps to this whole process, and hopefully you'll be able to watch all 3, because this is one heck of a great recipe. Today we're doing part 2 of Italian fig cookies. So now I'm going to make the dough, which is part 2 of the Sicilian fig cookies, the recipe from Frank Davis, my friend. I love him so much. Too bad. I'm sorry he died 10 years ago. But he still lives right here in his recipes. Great recipe here. Now, the only thing I'm going to add to this recipe, and I promise you everything's exactly the same, just for the dough, is the anise. We're going to add 1.5 ounces, because that's this whole bottle right here. So the first thing we're going to do for this recipe is add in the baking soda to the flour. By the way, all of the ingredients will be in the description below. So I'm going to add in my baking soda, and I will stir that in with a whisk, just a little bit, trying not to make a huge mess. That's good enough, because I'm going to use all of that flour. And so we had baking soda and the flour. Now for the liquid ingredients, we're going to use 2 cups of Crisco that's been melted. Okay, so I microwave this for about 2 minutes to get that. And then he calls out for a 1/2 cup of scalded milk. Now you can't find scalded milk at the store. You have to scald it yourself, right? I'm sorry, I just thought I had to say that. And we have 2 eggs, some vanilla, and 2 cups of sugar. So here's what has to happen. We mix that together, and now we have to mix together all the liquid ingredients. So we'll take the 2 eggs first, and we'll pop that in like this. I don't think you need to see in here. So we didn't put the second camera on. So we have the 2 eggs, the 2 cups of sugar, vanilla. Watch this. Boy, does this stuff smell good. I'm going to put all of that right in there. 1.5 ounces. And the scalded milk going right in here. Okay. And all of the Crisco right behind it. All right. And now I'm going to turn this baby on, and we're going to whisk it all in this mixer. And we'll just give this a couple of minutes to get it mixed up really good. I'm saying a couple of minutes, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds, because it looks like it's mixed together fine right now. I switched everything over to the other side of the counter so we can get the second camera so you can see what's going on in here. So all I'm going to do now, since we whisked everything together, is take the whisk off and put it in the sink, and we'll put the dough hook on. Okay. And we'll crank it up, and we'll start adding the flour a little at a time. So that's how this works. The flour and the other ingredients are coming together to make this cookie dough. So it's not going to be like a bread dough where it's going to be a little sticky and it's going to rise. This is a different kind of dough. if it's sticky, then it's too wet. But, and then you can add a little more flour to it. But honestly, it's probably going to be a little dry, if anything. And then you can just add a little water or a little milk to get it to come together. You'll see what I'm talking about. And some of this is hanging on to the sides, but I promise you, you're going to use all of the flour. I'll probably take a spatula and just scoop some of the dough away from the sides. But it takes a couple of minutes for this to come together, so don't rush it. Let's just let it work, and I'll come back and let you see what it looks like when it's looking really, really good. Okay, as you can tell, I screwed up. I forgot to turn the camera on. I put it in place, but I didn't turn it on. Okay, it's on now. So what I really all I did was I put the dough hook on, and all of the liquid was in here, and I started adding the flour to it. That's it. And as you can tell, I didn't even have to scoop anything off the sides yet, because it did it all by itself. But it's so wet that it's not coming together, and you can see that right now. So what I'm going to do is add in more flour, and it'll come together. I'll just add all of this in. Eight cups of flour. So now we'll just let this work, for a couple of minutes, and I'll probably take a spatula, stop it, and like this, and I'll take a flat spatula, I have to go get one, and pull it away from the walls, like this, and oh, does it smell good? I'll tell you what, it really looks good right now. It looks really, really good. Okay, so to be honest with you, it looks great. It looks wonderful. So what we'll do is take it all out right now. Like I said, it's not like really making bread dough. You just need to mix it. Doesn't have to be kneaded that long. Boy, does it smell good. If you have any dry ingredients in the bottom, then scoop it out, put it in there, and let's work it. Let's work it in by hand. Okay, so my countertop is clean, and if I wanted to, I could lay it out there on the countertop, but just going to work it like this for right now. Yeah, it looks good. Looks really, really good. So when your dough, your cookie dough looks like this, and it's not falling apart, that's it. You've got it. That is your cookie dough. Today we're going to be finishing up. We have part 3 of the Sicilian Fig Cookies. This is Frank Davis's recipe. Part 2, we made the dough, and I had a little trouble with the dough, I'll be honest with you. It was just a little bit too wet for me. So I had to put it back in the mixer, add a little bit more flour and a little bit of water, and I played with it until I got it to make a dough ball. And then when I rolled it out, it looked great. And I'm going to show you how that looks right now. So what we have here is the fig filling. We have our dough, our cookie dough. We have a wooden rolling pin. We have a little dough cutter right here, or scraper, or whatever you want to call it. We have this little mat, the silicone mat, that I like because it's got the inch marks on it, right on the mat, and it's hard to get anything to stick to it. We have a little water right here because you want to wet your hands when you're fooling with the figs. That way the fig don't stick to your hand. And I have a scale. And here's the reason why. Because I'm going to put my scale on right now and make sure it's 0. Because I'm going to go ahead and grab a handful of dough. I'm going to show you how this works right now. I'm going to put some dough on here, and I want to make it 10 ounces, okay? So we're at 9.3, and 9.9 is close enough for me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna roll it into a little ball right here. Right in the middle, make a little ball out of it. And then I'm gonna roll it gently with my hands until I roll it out to about 10 inches, okay? So I'm taking my time. And look, it's about 10 inches here and 10 inches there, and it's not perfect. You know, it's a little bit short on that end, so let me try to do this again. Okay, yeah, that's close enough. Doesn't have to be perfect, all right? So now we take a rolling pin and we'll start rolling it back and forth. So which way do you want to roll? This way or this way? Well, I like to go this way first because it's going to spread it out. And you put a little pressure on it as you're rolling, and it will start to spread out. Okay? It's also going to crack a little bit. But once it starts to spread, then you can go this way with it a little bit. But you don't want it to be real thick. This is why I like to use the scraper part, because I will push it back together on the ends, and then I'll keep rolling it. Okay, so what you're seeing here is we're just rolling this out easy, a little at a time. And you want to get it, you don't want it too thick. That's really what we're after. We don't want the dough to be too thick. That way your cookie dough is like super thick. But then on the other hand, if you get it too thin, then it's just all going to crack up on you. So right now I'm at 15 inches over here, and I'm at 13 over here. And I think the dough could probably go another, you know, now I'm at 14 over here. So look, you see, that's why I like this, because I can kind of measure out, you know, what I have. And there you go. So I'm happy with that. That looks great. Well, let's turn our scale back on, and I'm gonna wet my hands up a little bit. And I'm gonna go in here and grab a handful of this fig, and we'll weigh it out. I think I was using about 5.5 to 6 ounces. Look, it doesn't have, you can put as much or as little as you like. Really, that's 6 ounces right there. That might be a little bit too much. That's 5 ounces. Let's start off with 5 ounces. Now, with wet hands, you can see it doesn't stick to your hands. If you didn't have wet hands, this stuff would be sticking all over the place. So what you do, you can take about half of it and roll it out in your hand like a hot dog, you know? And then just lay it down in there the best you can. Some's going to have a little bit more, some's going to have a little less. So, see, roll it out like that, and then just lay it right in there. Now, okay. See, that's not too bad. Now, here's the other part. It's a little tricky. You might think, well, how about if I grab this and pull it up? That didn't work for me. So what I'm going to do is grab the dough with my fingers and pull the dough up over the filling like this, see? And if your dough isn't the right consistency, it would just break up and it won't work. It won't work right. So then at that point, what you do is you just roll the whole thing over like this. So you got yourself one long fig cookie. Well, it's a little bit too long, right? So here's what you do. You take this rolling pin and you flatten it just a touch. And now you got more fig cookie. Look at that. I mean, you could roll this thing out and flatten them up just a little bit, but again, see how the dough is kind of cracking right here. We don't want to release the Kraken. All right. And then the really simple part. Now I'm going to bring my little cookie sheet right here so you can see what's going on. All right. So this cookie sheet, this thing is lined with a silicone mat, and that's just a barbecue mat. It's nothing really fancy, and it works great. So when we bake it, it won't stick. You don't have to spray it or anything. I love this thing. So what you do is you get yourself a nice size cookie, about 1.5 inches. And look, this thing even has a little measurement on it. So 1.5 inches is going to be about right here. And you just push it down, and there you go. You got a cookie. Okay? And you want to make it glide a little bit better. You can put a little water on it. And now, whoever measures? No one. No one measures. So you just make them as big as you want. If you make them too small, they just I don't know. Don't make them too small. Just go ahead and make them about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. That way, when you got a nice fig cookie in your mouth, man, you know you're gonna love this thing. Okay? You are going to love these cookies. I'm telling you. And look, that's it. That's how you do it. Now this cookie right here, I'm not going to cut it. I'm just going to leave it a little long, and I'll just put it right in there, and that's it. So really, that's how you do it. It's not rocket science. So I find that using the scale and weighing everything out just kind of helps you keep everything uniform, and that way you know how much dough to use for so much filling, and I think that's what you're going to do. So what we're going to do is make a whole bunch of cookies, and let me tell you ahead of time, you don't have to use everything you have all in one, cook session. If you want to come back, make sure this is covered with cellophane real good, put it in the fridge. Hey, guess what? It'll work the next day, the next 2 days, no problem. I would take this out and let it warm up a little bit. I wouldn't try to make them while it's cold. I think the figs kind of, work a little bit better when they're a little warm. But anyway, the next thing we're going to do is make a whole bunch of these cookies, and then we're going to show you what they look like in the oven, out of the oven, and then how to ice them and everything. So in this video, you will see everything. Of course, we're going to be working while the camera's off. So just hang on, and we'll make it happen. Give us a few minutes. Look at these beautiful cookies. They're not baked yet, but we did use all of the dough, and we didn't even use half of the filling. And I put a lot of filling in these things. So you can have more cookies. Just put the filling in the fridge, okay? Anyway, we made 86 cookies out of the dough recipe, and they're all getting ready to go in the oven. 400 degrees for about 15 to 18 minutes. They're going to brown up. Then we're going to let them cool, and we're going to ice them up, put some sprinkles on them. They're going to look beautiful.
Welcome back to the Sanders Kitchen. I'm Pam, and we're wrapping up. This is our 4th segment of making our Sicilian Fig Cookies. And this is the most fun part. That's why Mike's letting me do it. So anyway, I'm going to let you know what's in the recipe. It's simple, simple, simple. And if you run out, it's really easy to make more. What we're going to be using is some confectioners. People call it powdered sugar. I have 2 cups of that. And all the ingredients and the amounts will be listed below. And I have some milk. We're going to use 2 to 3 tablespoons. You don't want it too runny, but I'm going to show you that. We're going to have some food coloring. We're going to make, there's 4 in this box, but we're going to do 3 different colors. And then we have our sprinkles for the top. Oh, and I did forget our vanilla. So we're going to use a teaspoon of vanilla. So I'm going to go ahead and start in just a second, and we're going to whip this up, and I'll show you how much fun it is. Just a little recap. We baked our cookies in a 400-degree Fahrenheit oven for 18 minutes. So we took them out. This is what we have. We have a nice amount of cookies here, and they look delicious, and they smell wonderful. But before you ice them, you want to make sure that they're cooled completely. So we're going to go get ready to make our icing right now. Okay, now we're going to put our icing together, and it's very, very easy. We're going to start out with a teaspoon of vanilla extract. All right, we got that. And I'll put this on the side. And then we're going to start, it says 2 to 3 tablespoons of milk, but I'm going to start with 2 because I don't want it to be too thin. And it just seems like when it's just powdered sugar, just a little bit of liquid goes a long way. So let's mix this up, see what happens. It's starting to get creamy. Takes a little bit to incorporate it in there. It's going to need a little bit more. Ooh, it's thick. It's thick. And after I get it all mixed together, I think I still have to add a little bit more. I'm going to divide it into 3 different bowls, and I'm going to make 3 different colors with my food coloring. And that's going to be yummy. Okay, that's a good consistency. If you can see that. It's like an icing, just like you would do on a cake. But you don't want it too runny. You don't want it running all over the place. So, now, I'm going to go ahead and divide it into 3 bowls. And we're going to make our 3 different colors. And when you run out, it's very simple just to make a little bit more, because we have a lot of cookies to cover. Take some of this one, put it over here. Okay. All right, this is to just get us started. I know I'm gonna have to make more, but this is just to show you how we do it. Now, we're gonna go with our food coloring. We'll do some blue ones. This stuff is pretty strong, so maybe just a little couple of drops like that. That's pretty. That's a pretty blue. And then we're going to do a green. I think 1 drop probably is plenty. You can see I've already got it on my fingers. I'll be stained. And that's good for the green. And then we'll do some yellow. It's amazing how just a little bit of food coloring goes a long way. So those are our 3 icings that we have for our cookies. I'm gonna put the milk on the side. And here's our pretty cookies. We have a nice tray to put them on, and we're gonna do our sprinkles. So I want the icing up here, and I'm gonna put this bowl here. I'm gonna sprinkle it over the bowl, and that way, anything that falls off, I won't lose that. All right, we have our icings made, and now we're gonna get started. I'm gonna use a little, just go from color to color, just a little bit on the top of each one, and just spread it around on the cookie. And then I'm going to sprinkle, little sprinkles on top. And I like to sprinkle over a bowl, that way if I have any little things that fall off. Number 1. Put it over in the middle.
That's fast.
All right. And then you just go along and you just do a whole bunch of them, and it just takes a little bit of time, but this is the fun part. And then the best part of all, of course, is going to be the taste test. That's my favorite. All right. So there we go with some green. That's pretty. Ooh, I need a paper towel or something. Making a mess. All right, let's do a blue one. Little sprinkles. Be sure all pretty. They had a red food coloring too, but I just thought if I did red, it was going to be too much like Christmas. So I figured I'd not use the red. But you can play around with your colors. It really doesn't matter. You can just do white. You don't even have to put any color, but this makes them pretty. So I've started on my cookies. I got 4 down and about 10,000 to go. And I'll be back with you when we have them done. All right, look how beautiful these are. What I have here on our pretty tray and a few left over, this is how many cookies I iced with my 1 batch of icing. And that's one good thing about this recipe. If you get tired, you can put these in a Ziploc bag and you can ice them later that day. You can ice them the next day. It's no big deal. They come out great. So I just wanted to show you how beautiful these are. And I guess we're gonna have to have a taste test. So I guess I'll do that right now. This is a pretty blue one. Take a bite. Got so much figs in it. Oh, delicious. Figs and dates and raisins. And the dough is nice and soft, and the icing and the sprinkles make them look so pretty. Anyway, that is our recipe that we're sharing for Sicilian Fig Cookies. We want to give credit to our dear late friend, Frank Davis. And this recipe came from his mother-in-law. So Mary Clare, thank you so much for letting Frank use your mom's Sicilian Fig Cookie recipe because it is delicious. We thank you so much. Well, that's about a wrap for what we're doing today. Just wanted to let you know, thank you so much for tuning into our channel. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and hit that notification bell. That way you'll be the first one to know when we're coming out with a new great recipe. So as Mike and I always say, God bless you.